In this lesson, we're going to talk about public relations writing, primarily the various types of writing we do in public relations. If you made a list of how many different types of writing PR professionals do, how many items do you think you could come up with? I mean, we have your basic press release and news release, but we write in various different styles. So fact sheets, media alerts, pitches, and email letters. We do video news releases and write scripts, all manner of web content. Everything from ghostwriting for executives to writing pamphlets and brochures in social media. So many, many different ways to write media, PR products, but we're going to focus on news releases because this is the basic media writing, just as we've been doing other basic media writing. So think about why we write press releases and what we hope to get when we send them to the media. We want to attract media attention and reach a broader audience. So in that case, the media actually would be our audience, and then through the media, the additional audience gained. But we also go direct to our final audience as a PR professional. So sometimes we cut out the middleman and publish our own content. We do that to gain audience credibility, to have them see us as the reliable source, and also to develop relationships with our audiences. So the Department of Defense, like many governmental entities, in fact, any governmental entity of any size at any level, from municipal up to the federal government, there are a number of communication specialists, PR professionals who work in the Department of Defense. And as you can see, they produce everything from news and photos to videos and live events, special reports. They really do it all. So if you go to the Department of Defense, you can see some of the items they have listed under news. So they write press advisories, news releases, news articles, publications, transcripts, speeches, really everything on down the line. And then in terms of the type of media they turn out, they also do photo galleries and videos and just so many different forms of communication. So much like we would think of the journalists producing this content, PR professionals also produce this content, but for a specific client. This is an example of this video. This video was shot by the Department of Defense, but it aired on ABC News. So in the PR profession, we often produce content and then we offer it to the media to use, but we also publish it on our sites. The Department of Defense also does quite a bit of social media content, of course, produces a lot of social media content. So you may have seen this, Soldiers Magazine. This is a Facebook page. So Soldiers Magazine is actually a government production produced by the Department of Defense. So if you look at it, you see it's a government website, and it's at soldiers.dodlive.mil. So this is Department of Defense Live, and .mil is the military extension, just as .com or .gov being a government extension. And then, of course, we have content on Twitter. So all the various branches have active social media accounts and active Twitter accounts. And so it might be something specific like the Navy or all the way down to the Navy SEALs or even individual units. So we're talking about public affairs professionals, is what they often call them in active duty military units. So PR equals writing. Right? This is really the message. PR is all about writing. This is Jennifer Walsh, who is a Texas State alum, as a matter of fact, and she is head of PR and communications for Covestro Baytown, which is a subsidiary of Bayer. And so they produce a lot of plastic products. It's a huge company. And Jennifer hires a number of interns aside from also hiring her staff. But she says, if you don't have a strong writing background, you go to the bottom of my list. Jennifer comes to campus from time to time to talk to students, and no matter the class, no matter what she's talking about, she always points out that writing really is the core skill she looks for, and she can teach you the rest. So PR comes in all different shapes and sizes when we're talking about news releases and press releases. This is sort of a basic who, what, when, where, why event coverage, request for coverage. So we won't use this format, but this is one of the ways that you'll see news releases sent out. This is more of a fact sheet. So from REI, here are the basics of their opt-out side campaign. And you'll see at the bottom of this fact sheet, as with many news releases, is there are links to, here's the actual press release on opt-out side, here is some B-roll, some video shot that you could use in a media story if you wanted, and some photos. So we produce all of this content to be sort of ready-made for the the media. REI, of course, from their website, you can access all of this content. So it doesn't have to be just for what we would think of as a traditional media outlet. It could be that you are a blogger or you are a social media influencer. You can still find all of the content here. All the news releases are produced as multimedia news releases for the most part. So it's a news release, but they often read much like stories. This is some of their social media. So REI has this big campaign called Force of Nature. And so they have well-produced, succinct posts on the force of nature. And so this writing is short, but so because of its brevity, each word is critical. So I've included this short video that they ran on Twitter. I've included this short video in the online lesson, so you can watch that yourself after this mini lecture. What about this piece? USA team wins 2017 Nike Hoop Summit. So is this news or is this PR? Here's the lead. The USA, led by 19 points from Jared Vanderbilt, who also had 10 rebounds, and Michael Porter, held off a strong fourth quarter run from the World Select team to win 98-87 in the 20th edition of the Nike Hoop Summit in Portland, Oregon. That reads like a sports lead you would read in any publication. But in fact, this is produced by Nike Basketball News. So this is Nike, their company, their communication team. But as you might imagine, they have a number of writers in their communication team who cover sports and who have covered sports for years. So they produce this sports coverage for their website and for their audiences. This is a Department of Transportation press release, and so this is a more traditional press release aimed at being pushed out to the media, but also direct to the audience. So who is the audience for a press release like this? TSA prepared for millions of spring break revelers. So the Department of Transportation, or the Transportation Security Administration, TSA, is writing a press release to tell you to get ready around spring break when there's lots of travelers and what you need to know to do. So they have press releases. The TSA produces testimony for legislative bodies. There are speeches, there are fact sheets, they have social media. Just like any other PR professional organization, they produce all manner of content. So in that press release, there was a graphic, right? So this sort of list of airport volumes over the past several years and how much growth there was increased, and then a bit of a bullet list on what you need to watch out for vacation tips, right? So TSA is trying to give you this all well-rounded pieces of information, not just about what to carry on the airplane. So this was their press release. You see the bullet points and the graphic in their press release. If we look at, let me mention too that news releases, we often end with these three, we call them pound signs, but now we call them hashtags, right? So these 3 hash marks or 30 to indicate the end of the press release. This is kind of a throwback to the way things have been done for a long time. So while some places are getting away from this, a number of agencies are still sticking with it. So we'll go ahead and use that. So USA Today, a media publication, right, a newspaper, they ran a story based on that media release from TSA. Now, the USA Today lead was different than what was on the press release, right, because we take the press release and we write it to be our own and include additional information. So the USA Today lead, transportation security officials say they are preparing for a surge of spring break travelers, urging flyers to arrive early, as the average wait time at U.S. airport checkpoints has nearly doubled during the past year. So this lead focuses on wait time. That's what the USA Today journalist decided was the most important, because that's useful for consumers. The TSA lead was a little different, with the number of air travelers growing significantly year over year. The TSA remains prepared to effectively screen more than 65.1 million travelers, et cetera, et cetera. So the TSA was focusing more on what they were going to be doing. USA Today was focusing more from the sort of user perspective. But what's interesting is you'll see that TSA offered this helpful graphic to show you they've compiled all the numbers on how many travelers there have been over the past few years at these various airports. Then USA Today took that information and attributed it to the TSA, right? So they give TSA credit for collecting this information. And then they ran also essentially the same information, showing you how much of an increase there was at each airport. Now, I would say that I actually think the TSA graphic is better looking, USA Today not so much. And in fact, I I might do it even a little more graphically interested with, a chart or something. But the information is all there, and it came from the PR organization, right, from the TSA's PR people. We also see the same kind of stuff in small governmental entities. So something as small as Comal County can put together quite extensive PR campaigns for, in this case, public health, right? Zika in Central Texas. So they're producing videos about Zika. They're producing graphics that show you what Zika is and how it's transmitted. They're producing web content, right? So precautions to take, signs and symptoms, and additional graphics on Zika, explaining what Zika is, what you need to watch out for, and what the city is doing. So you might see something like this in the media with a media outlet, say the Austin American Statesman or KVUE News, but we also see this coming from organizations. Their communication specialists are really doing what in the past journalists often were the only ones that did, but now all communications professionals can push out content to their audiences. So we will do primarily news release writing in our class in media writing, but know that PR professionals write on various platforms, various types of content.